For the rest of the show, one of the things that I've been doing recently is sharing this story about inclusion and the importance of it and how it means different things to different people. So let me take you and talk you through this story. And the background to this story was quite simply I was launching the Inclusion by Default campaign, and I'd written this big long speech, and I was conscious that it was really technical. So it talked about facts like it'll take 169 years for gender parity. So that means women being treated the same as men. 169 years. That's crazy, given the focus that exists right now on this particular topic. And as I was exploring and writing this speech, and had written this speech even, I was really, really conscious that people might get turned off by it because I come along and go, right, we should make the world a better place. And they're going, oh, right, okay, I've got to worry about my bills. I've got to worry about getting in and out of town, as you've heard Jaff and I talk about. I've got to worry about a whole host of things. And inclusion probably isn't one of those things. But then I ask everyone to consider what does inclusion mean to them? And interestingly, everyone's got a different view. And by kismet or stroke of luck or the force, if you believe in Star Wars, I was reading my daughter a bedtime story and I picked it up and it was called The Bear and the Bees. And I was like, The Bear and the Bees. I was naturally thinking, Birds and the Bees. What's she doing? She's only 5. Anyway, it's The Bear and the Bees. And I went to read this story 2 days before the conference. And I'm going to share it with you in the last few minutes. So, our story begins with your imagination. Now, imagine a world full of black and yellow creatures that fly above your heads. Bees, yes, but not normal bees. These bees can talk. And not only can they talk, but they also go to school. Now, this world may be unique in itself, but the creatures living in it aren't so unique. Actually, they are all exactly the same as each other. And all of these buzzing bees have the same name too. They are all called busy. Every single one of them. Imagine being in school when the teacher takes the register. If all of you have the same name, how would you know when it's your name being called out? How confusing would that be? Well, that's what happens to these bees every day. One ordinary Monday, the younger bees were gathered in the playground. Some were buzzing with the latest gossip, while others played hide and buzz. All of a sudden, a big brown, hairy creature strolled into the playground. It was a bear. The bees buzzed loudly and flew here and there in a panic. Hey guys, the bear spoke softly. My name is Grizzle. Don't be afraid. It's my first day here. The bees stared in shock at the bear. This isn't the right school for you, one bee buzzed crossly. You're different. You don't have stripes like us, and I bet you can't fly, a second bee argued. And he's not even called Busy, a third bee joined in. We don't like people who are different. Go away. Grizzle's face fell. Does it matter if I'm different? He asked. The answer was obviously yes, because the bees flew away into their classrooms, ignoring his questions. Giant tears fell from Grizzle's giant eyes and splashed onto the playground. But one bee had stayed behind, the smallest bee in the whole school. Comforting Grizzle, the bee spoke. There, I think it's a good idea, being different. It's boring when everyone's the same. Grizzle smiled as the kind bee give him an idea. The rest of the day zoomed past. Some of the bees made nasty remarks as Gruzzle walked by and giggled behind his back. But Gruzzle didn't care. He had a plan, a good one too. All he needed was imagination, which he sure had already. The next day, the bees gathered in the playground as normal, but then Gruzzle strolled in. He looked very different from the day before. He had yellow and black stripes painted on him and had wings tied to his back. The crowd went quiet and glanced at one another. Then one young bee piped up. "You look stupid," he said. "Bears don't have wings," shouted another bee, "and your stripes look silly." Everyone laughed, but they soon stopped as Gruzzle started chuckling too. "You laughed at me because I'm different," he said. "But when I look the same as you still laugh at me. I am different, and I am happy being a bear. There's nothing wrong with being different." The bees paused for a moment and thought about what Gruzzle had said. Then the smallest bee started cheering and shouted, "Hurrah for Gruzzle! I'd like to be different," a big bee said. "I'm going to be purple, and I'm going to change my name to Puzzle," another exclaimed. The next morning, the playground was more cheerful than it had ever been. All the bees were brightly coloured and were buzzing about, trying to learn the new names they had each given themselves. Gruzzle looked around and smiled. He thought to himself that it's okay to be unique. It's okay to be you. And that's the end of the story. And that, my friends and my wonderful listeners and viewers, is what inclusion is all about. It's good to be you. Be who you are. Don't get impressed by others unnecessarily. Stick to who you are, what you want to be, and let's celebrate all of us for our differences. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for viewing. We'll be back next week where we have a special guest on the show. Until then, it's a goodbye from me and